The design on the vessel is segmented into rectangular panels with a diagonal dividing the plane. It has a dragonfly that comes up over the diagonal line from the left section, and the dragonfly is 4 segments that are curved lines, so it comes down straight, and then there's a curved line up and a curved line down. The dragonfly is a design that I made the connection for myself. It may not be what it was actually depicting at the time when it was used, but in my jewelry works, I tend to use a stylized dragonfly design, which is a straight line with 2 wings. And the design on the vessel, on the dough bowl, is very reminiscent to me of what the design I use in my jewelry is. So the dough bowl is pretty interesting, the relationship I have with it. A couple of years ago, I had a dream. I had dreamt about Monica, not specifically. I remember her hands, and I was being scolded because I was not getting the design right. And it didn't matter how many times I had redone it, I was making the same mistakes. But it was smelling the slip in the room. It was feeling the clay. It was hearing the words. And I kept that design for an extended amount of time. I didn't find the right vessel to put it on. And at the time, I was in school for engineering. So I have books for my dynamics class, and this design is just doodled all over the notebook, in the margins, on any extra space I had. And when I finally found the right vessel for it, I knew that that was the design that had to be on there. When I saw the pottery in the exhibition, I did not expect to see my design staring at me. I said, "That one, that's my design." There was a handwritten annotation, attributed to Monica Silva by Robert Tenorio. Monica Silva, my great-grandmother. That was the moment my dream made sense to me. So Monica Silva was born in Santa Clara. She's from Santa Clara, Pueblo. She was married into Santo Domingo, Pueblo. She married Santiago Lovato. She raised my grandfather, Charles Lovato, who was a very famous artist. We lost him to cancer. He was a painter, he did lithographs, and he was known for hair strand hishi. So his daughter is Eldra, who's my mother, and then there's me, Monica. So Monica came from an era that was pre-trademarking. She didn't sign her pieces, and the pieces that we do have that are signed by her has just been done in pencil, saying that that was made by her. So there wasn't anything permanent. She does have a very specific style to her building, which is why he attributed it to her. She's known for high shoulders, so the pieces of her pot will come up very high, and the shoulders of the pot will come in and form a very small neck. So high shoulders and a small neck on the vessels was her style. So when we're able to find those vessels, more than likely that they were made by her. That moment when I saw that he had attributed to her, that it was my design that I had been dreaming about, it's kind of like everything clicked into place. When she was still with the family, she told my grandfather, she's like, "This is for your oldest daughter's oldest daughter." And it was a small inheritance. It was a book of designs. It was some polishing stones, some pieces that were already burnished, and her ring. So, and he tells her, "Oh, I don't have kids yet, Mom. I don't know what you're talking about." And so she scolds him and she tells him, "This is for your oldest daughter's oldest daughter." And when the time came, he gave it to my mom. And then when I kind of decided to start pursuing clay, she gave it to me. figuring out where the ancestors want me to be, figuring out where the spirits are taking me. It's all this multi-generational knowledge that comes to you in different ways. And it's not always necessarily from mother to daughter, father to son. Sometimes it's in the dream, sometimes it's in the pot that you're visiting with that's whispering in your ear. She knew what was going to happen. She knew who I was going to be. And I feel very fortunate to have those resources at my disposal. So my name is Monica Silva Lovato. I'm from the pueblos of San Felipe and Santo Domingo. I currently live in San Felipe Pueblo. That's where my studio is located. That's where I work. It's also where I gather all my clay and where I fire my pottery. Growing up, I was an artist's child. I was dragged around to every art show. I grew up under the table, and I was about 8 years old when I made the decision that I was not going to be an artist. And people would ask me, well, what are you going to do? And I told them I'm going to be an electrical engineer. So I went off and I did engineering. I did robotics. I specialized in autonomous robotic systems. I've worked for very big institutions. I've gotten grants with the National Science Foundation, and I ended up becoming an artist. In my personal work, I tend to work with designs that are specifically like 1920s. I am the first potter from Monica's line in the family since Monica. Along with other art forms, when you bring in the people, you have to remember that it's not necessarily just the person that you're talking to, the artist there, it's every artist that comes before them. And so when we're going out, when we're working with turquoise, when we're working with clay, when we're working with all these different items, it starts out with a prayer. So we begin the day asking for help. We begin the day with our salutations. We begin the day with acknowledging our ancestors and the help that we need from them daily. So we do that in the hopes that they're going to help us find clay for the day. Because there are times where you can go and be walking throughout the hills and return home and not have found clay that day. Usually we'll carry a backpack or buckets. We'll roam around the hills looking for clay. So we have to dig it out of the ground. We take it home. We have to process it, so we have to clean it. And the process is the same for most any potter, but it's also just a little different depending on what the potter chooses to do, what steps they take. And depending on what area you're in, what pueblo you're in, it'll get mixed with a different temper. And then you let the clay mature. Slip is a generalized term for clay that is suspended in water. Your slip is going to be really fine. It's going to be the consistency of cream. And depending on if you're going to use it for building or for decoration, that slip will come into play at different times. So if you're using slip for building, it's going to be kind of like your glue. You're going to score your pieces, so you're going to make little lines in it. You're going to put your slip over, and then you're going to put it down. So it's going to be the clay body and then the slip inside, and you're going to push it down, and that helps to create a really strong bond when you're building. So that's how it's used during that portion. If it's used for decoration, it actually comes in during either the leather hard or the bone dry stage. So you're going to put it over the entire vessel. So the firing process has to be one of my favorite processes. You never know what's going to happen. There are ways to control what you're doing, and a lot of people will use like a primitive kiln, and they'll build their firing pit so that the pots are protected, or they'll use pottery shards over the top to protect the vessels. I've gone in completely the opposite direction, and I place my vessels in the fire and I build the fire directly on top of it. So every vessel that I send out into the world has been touched by the fire. So I always send the pots out, and I haven't washed it. I don't clean it off. So when I have my customers that'll get their pot, when they open the box or when they pick it up from an art show, they can smell the charcoal, they can smell the burnt wood inside the vessel. And I tell them, take it home and take the blessings of the fire into your home. So I think the utilitarianness of the dough bowl is really what inspired me. It's a strong vessel. And when you get to see it in person, you get to see the care that was put into it at the time. The bowl is a traditional Santo Domingo style polychrome bowl. So it has red slip, it has the cream slip, and then it has the black pigment. It is about 14 inches in diameter, about 8 inches tall. And the dough bowls always kind of remind me of the story because as it's told, when my grandfather would come home from school, she would be working on her pottery, and he would curl up inside one of her dough bowls and take a nap next to her while she was working. And so he's at the time maybe 5 years old. So these vessels are large enough that a 5-year-old was able to take a nap inside of it. And I think that always, the story and knowing that background of her dough bowls and what they were used for, and not just for dough, but for a sleeping child, the comfort of sleeping next to his mom while she worked. And I think that's always kind of heartwarming to me when I get to see her dough bowls.